Hi, I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG. Hello, Emmy Lou, you're here too. Something came in the mail today, a great big box, and we're going to take a look inside and see what it is because I do believe it's a magnetic loop antenna. So, this came from Roberto Aranaga. Coral Springs, Florida, in the United States. He said he had a better design for a magnetic loop antenna, and he'd send it to me. So, and he's going to go into business selling them. This particular box threw me a little bit, came from Lowe's. It was a brand new box. It's one of these that's double thickness cardboard, so it's very well in the box. We opened it up and we came up first with these instructions. And here's some pieces. So this apparently is the copper. Oh my goodness. This is the piece de resistance. This is the capacitor that goes with it, and it's homebrew. See what else we've got in here. This is the main feed mechanism, some more plastic pipe. There are some coax, some more plastic, and some more plastic, and that's it. And the inside has been set up to divide it into compartments. And so let's take a look under all this plastic and see what we've got. This looks like it's empty. This is empty. This has got these two pieces of plastic here. Did I lose them? I did. So 1, 2, 3 plastic pipe. These have all been carefully cut to length. This one right here, which is again 1, 2, 3. There's a fourth one down there. Went under the table. We'll get that. And now this looks like it's got somewhat more important stuff in it. Okay, so let's be a little careful taking it apart. That was not good. There it is. Man, I tell you, Floridians must love plastic. What am I missing? Did it come out?
No, they're in there in the wheel.
Oh, okay. This is the feed, the primary feed loop. Plastic, and this has some things on it, a little clip. And there's another piece of plastic and some screws down in here. And we don't want to lose those. I think I would recommend putting these in a little envelope or something. And this is, well, here's the envelope they could go in. These are zip ties. I'm told these are reusable. And this is the feed line, which is BR240, low loss, 50 ohms. That's from Browning. So this would be the equivalent of LMR240 or RG8X would be. Okay, and we keep going on the opening. This is copper coil, 5/8 an OD times 10 feet. Okay, so this is just stock copper coil, I think. Yes, except it's not quite stock. Yeah, I did happen to read the instructions, and what we're going to need to do is to go to a large table and slowly unroll this thing so that it becomes a great big circle. Now, let's look at the giant here. This is something that looks like a labor of love. I would think. Good grief. Holy camole. Now that is a variable capacitor, and it is tuned by tuning this knob right here. Okay, and that is one monster capacitor. So 0 capacitance there and max there a half turn later. So the way it says to, when we put the antenna together, to tune it is you tune the capacitor for max noise, okay, and then you use a broadband tuner to bring it into tune. So there it is. We'll put it together. This really impresses me here. This took a lot of work to do that. When we put it together, we'll take a closer look at all the parts and see how it works. Let's take a closer look at this antenna and all the parts and pieces. I've got this set up with a complete station now because I have my old Ten-Tac Jupiter with a wide range tuner down here, and I've got which has an SWR bridge in it, but I've also put an SWR bridge here that actually goes between the tuner and the antenna, and I've put it here in this wrong spot so that I can see what's actually going on between the tuner and the antenna. And we're going to try a little Morse code. This is my old Ten-Tac Jupiter, and we're going to try this in CW. And the reason that I picked this is because, of course, it's frequency agile across the entire HF band. And it can put out up to 100 watts. So I want to see just what we can do here with this. And this is my old JJ38 Japanese-made telegraph key that I've had since I first got into ham radio. Now, this is the antenna that we're talking about, okay? Right up here on top we see the capacitor. It is a monster capacitor, and it's wired a little differently. It's not wired with two stationary halves and a butterfly in between, but rather just as an ordinary capacitor, which means that you actually get more capacitance out of it. Now, the way that this is connected to the loop right here is via this little clip right here, which is made of copper, which clips onto the aluminum, and as the capacitor tunes, this slips around on the shaft here. Now, you're going to run into trouble over time with corrosion between dissimilar metals, particularly if you allow this to get wet. So you may want to take that off when you're not using it, and remember to put it back on when you're using it. It kind of rides right in the little grooves of the capacitor.
That's pretty good. Now everything, the entire support structure is made of PVC pipe from Charlotte Pipe. So that's not that far away from Florida where these things are made. Now there's a couple things to note. This is open at the top, which means that water could get down here if this is outdoors. But then again, it's open down here at the bottom, so you get the water will fill up this entire base and then start coming out here. So you may end up with a little water in there. The other thing you can do is get a little cap or even a rubber band with a piece of plastic for right there. That'll do it too. Now this copper tube right here comes as a coiled copper tube, but it's been hammered down to a flat spot and a hole drilled so that it'll just fit in here. Oh, and I'm tightening that. That's interesting. After a while it gives a little bit. Okay. Now one thing to consider, all of this is called 1/4 inch hardware. The bolts themselves are 1/4 inch across, and the wing nuts are 1/4 inch. Everything's 1/4 inch. Everything inside of here is 1/4 inch. So what is going to deal with that are this 7/16 wrench, the 7/16 on both ends. This is a 7/16 socket, which you will need for making sure that these are tight, because there's a 1/4 inch nut, the 1/4 inch bolt through there, and it's nice to use some tools to make that really solid. There's 7/16 that you need. Okay, everything on here is in the American System of Measurements. Now, if we look at this, the capacitor is mounted in 2 spots. This other spot right here is just a tube that goes down in 3 pieces, okay, and gets down to the bottom. The only things that are actually attached together when you get them are this cross piece and this cross piece, and note that they are not the same width. This one right here is slightly offset from this one. This takes into account the slight offset that you get in the capacitor. On this end it's mounted centrally, on this end it's slid to the side just a bit so that you can attach this end down here to the stator of the capacitor. Okay, and then this goes to the rotor of the capacitor. Alright, so down here this is the excitation loop. I know it seems so strange that a loop that short would not just short out the signal, but it sets up a electromagnetic field, and then this outer loop picks that up. Your highest voltage is at the top here. Your lowest voltage is down here at the bottom. And this is put on here and held in place by a very interesting tie wrap. You get quite a few of these to keep things in place. Let me just show you what we're looking at here. This is a little tie wrap that's got a little lever on it. Okay, you can press that lever and unhook the tie wrap. So that's really cool. I've never seen one of those. So the thing has a pretty sturdy base on it. Again, you have to assemble all of this. They've come out with new instructions. What they really need to do, and I'm sure they will at some point, is each type of piece has got a sticker on it or written on it, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever the parts are, so that you can put them on. Notice that I actually have the capacitor backwards, but that's okay. The antenna is still in great shape. Now, there's a couple things that I've noticed in tuning this. This is attached right here without any kind of bellin to a very stiff piece of coax. I think they said there's 25 feet But the problem is the tuning knob is this one up here. Now, the nice thing about this tuning knob is it's huge. Okay? And you can, for 60, 40, and 30 meters, this will tune like an ordinary loop. You just tune this till you get it right. Well, one of the problems is there is a little bit of backlash in the loop, so you actually have to turn it just slightly past the resonant point and let it fall back into correct resonance. Takes a lot of patience to do that. But that's not how this thing is advertised for use. It's advertised for other bands too. And the way they do it is the entirely unorthodox way of a wide range tuner. And the idea being that the loop will tune if the right reactance is found both down here and up here. So we're going to try putting that reactance in with this wide range tuner. This is an MFJ, let's see, find the model there, 993B. It's a wide range tuner, it's not a matic tuner. Okay, and again, as I said, I've put this SWR meter between the tuner and the loop, which is the wrong place to put an SWR meter. But the tuner itself has an SWR meter that's in the right place. So I put this in there because I really want to know what is going on that transmission line. And it's absolutely fascinating. So let's try a little operating and see how the antenna behaves on 20 meters. Now 20 meters is one of those bands that this thing really will not tune naturally for. You won't find a spot turning this where you've got an SWR 1-to-1. Okay, but I've already tested it and found that if I put it in here with the automatic tuner, we can get on 20 meters a very nice low SWR. So let's try that. Okay, we're recording now. We're tuned to 20 meters, which is not in the normal tuning range of this antenna. The instructions are to tune for most noise. Okay, that seems to be pretty good. Now note that the antenna tuner is off, and if I try to transmit, this will read the correct SWR. SWR is 6. Okay, let's turn on the tuner. And now we'll hold down. Okay, it's come down here to SWR of 1-to-1. Still 6 up here. Okay, 1-to-1. And we're putting out about 15 watts according to this. A little higher over here. Okay. Now the bands are not at their best right now. So what we're going to do is try calling CQ. This is the CW portion of the band that is frequented by members of the, I guess you'd call it Slow Code Society. I'll get the right name for it. It's SKCC, so it's Straight Key Century Club. This is a straight key. I'm not using a keyer, okay? And this is an old JJ38, which is a copy of the American J38, with the exception that this one has ball bearings instead of just a friction fit right there. The problem with the ball bearings is if you get them greased, they won't be conductive. So you've got to have that tight enough on there that they will be conductive. I've had really good luck with this key. It's a very nice one. I did recently get a J38. This is the shorting bar, which we use for tuning. And then this for the actual sending. So I'm going to call CQ and see what happens. Let's find out. He's going through the first half of his stuff, name, location, and signal report, and it's just too far in the noise for me to copy. Fortunately, the noise reduction considers the CW signal to be noise. It's looking for voice. The FTDX has beautiful noise reduction filters that are very good for CW. They can just narrow right in on them with a very small filter and get out everything that the filter doesn't think is noise. So what we did, just the significance of what we did, I think if the band conditions weren't so bad right now, we just had a solar flare here a few days ago, I think I would have done much better. And again, with the FTDX, done much better. The net of this, okay, is that this unusual technique works. I am blown away by this. This is new for me. I've always been taught that you use a loop antenna and it's tuned by that capacitor up there. And if it's not tuned by the capacitor, that adding the reactance down here at the other end of the feed line is a very, very different place to add reactance. So it got it down to 1-to-1 SWR as far as the transmitter was concerned. I did call CQ. I did get a response. It was weak, again, because of the band conditions. You could hear the band conditions. There was a loud roar, and signals, all signals were very faint in that. So what am I going to say about this antenna? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to say about this antenna. I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away. This is, besides the fact that the homebrew capacitor is a work of art, it works. It does exactly what it says it does, and the technique he says to use works, okay? Okay, I'm going to have to say very good. I'm impressed. I'm going to have to try this same technique with other antennas and hope that they work. They may just work very well, because I've got, let's see, 2 other antennas that I could try in different bands with an antenna tuner. So now note that when there's a very high SWR on the line itself, that means there are what are called circulating currents. These are the currents that get bounced back and forth between the antenna and the tuner, and then the tuner bounces them back to the antenna bounces them back to the tuner. And these circulating currents can be very high. And so, you know, when you have a coax that says you've got a 1 dB loss, that's at a matched state, not at a state of totally untuned, because when you start putting that circulating current on there, the losses in the coax go up quite a bit. The coax that is given with this thing looks like RG8X, except that it is very stiff. Not sure I like the stiffness, but it's not an issue dealing with it. As far as the construction of the antenna, we've got a very nice sturdy construction. It will not fall over. He talks about using this thing indoors. Okay, he wanted me to test it indoors, and I tested it here in the studio because this desk is wood, and we're right near the window. There's no significant metal objects other than the lights. Actually, up here where I've got the lights strung up, they're strung up on plastic pipe. We do have the fluorescent lights that light the green screen, and there's a few tripods and stuff floating around in here. But I took stuff out of the room that was a big metal mass, like the music stands that I use to hold the computer and so on. By the way, this is a sneak shot of the inside of my studio and all the stuff I've got here above me to get the echo down. So there it is. All right. Let's finish this up in the usual fashion. Thank you so much for watching. You know, last week I started out with a sponsor, and we did that little 20-second spot. That was my wife's voice on the sponsorship, and they came back and pulled it. So I said, very well, you know. They seemed to me like they were going to be a little difficult to work with. Because of course they're trying to get money, spend money on advertising, which is what they consider sponsorships, and see if they can get a lot in return. I assume they're a perfectly good outfit. Anyway, and just to be completely open about it, for the one spot I did, I got $25. So that's not exactly the kind of money that would make me want to suddenly become a circuit board guy. So I had the opportunity this last Saturday of speaking in Grand Junction, Colorado at the Western Colorado Amateur Radio Club Hamfest. I was their keystone speaker, which I thought was an interesting turn of phrase. The keynote speaker, I was actually the only speaker, but I spoke to them for about an hour about my history of how I got to where I am and what I'm trying to do, key things I'm trying to do, like create a safe channel, create a channel that's there to help newcomers to amateur radio and answer any and all questions that you have, answer them straight. You know, not a flippant answer or anything like that. You ask a question, you get a straight answer, regardless of how convoluted the question might be. And I am perfectly well aware that people who are new to ham radio have questions, and they don't know the answer to, and they're afraid to ask sometimes because they might get ridiculed. I'm not going to do that. They're not going to do that. We're going to try and keep it straight. I also try to keep it a safe place, so if people make comments, you know, about how stupid somebody is, that comment is deleted immediately. There's no place for that on this channel, just no place at all. We're here to support each other, answer each other's questions, and so on. So thank you for all of your support. Thank you for subscribing, clicking like, and sharing. Thank you for putting money in the tip jar and also becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/KE0OG. When you become a patron, that means that a certain amount of money, $2, $5, whatever you'd like, is set aside every month that comes to me and helps to fund Ham Radio Answers. So there we have it for the week. Please use both feet when walking. It's getting into the fall season now, so look out for falling leaves. And until we next meet, 73.